I'm finally in a place that I can talk about it now. So for a long time, I couldn't talk about my ex, and now it's something that I can talk about. I remember when I was in Binghamton, when I got to Binghamton, money was tight, and I was going to school in Binghamton. My first job, I was working in the morgue. And while I was working in the morgue, my job, the description was I had to check the bodies. And when I had to check the bodies, what I had to check, I had to make sure the paperwork matched to determine whether the person was going to get buried or the person was going to get cremated. So I remember checking this one particular body. I'll never forget the guy's name, and you'll understand why. So I'm checking the body, and I noticed that this guy easily had the longest, biggest penis I've ever seen. I was like, oh man. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, I'm an impressionable kid, and I'm like, wow, this is a shame. This is gonna get cremated and it's gonna be a waste. This is something that it can be preserved and maybe be an exhibit in the Everything's Man's Museum. So sure enough, right by one of the coroner station, I noticed the tools that were there, and I took the tools and I started an incision, and in about 5-6 minutes I was able to remove Carlos Vargas's schlong, and I just stuffed it in a duffel bag, and I went about my day, and when it was time to leave, I just left. So I drove and I got home, and my ex was home, and I was like, babe, I got something to show you. And me and her, I thought this was going to be the woman I married, because she said, she had never been with somebody. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I go and I'm like, look, sit down. This may startle you. And I opened the duffel bag and I showed her, and she started screaming. She was like, oh my God, Carlos is dead.